Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Port Phillip City Council. The City of Port Phillip respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners of this land, the people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We acknowledge and uphold their continuing relationship to this land. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid style and is streamed via Council's webcast page and Facebook Live. Streams and recordings of Council meetings are copyrighted and cannot be altered, reproduced, or republished without the permission of Council. If we experience any technical difficulties this evening, we will adjourn the meeting for a short time to resolve the issue. I remind attendees that any member of the public addressing Council must extend due courtesy and respect to Council and the process under which we operate, and must take direction from the Chair whenever called on to do so. Speakers must remain respectful, and statements or questions must not be defamatory, offensive, or objectionable, aimed at embarrassing a councillor or a member of Council staff, or relate to a matter outside the powers of Council. Our first item tonight will ask if there's any requests to attend by electronic means. CEO, do we have any requests from councillors to participate in tonight's meeting by electronic means?
Through you, Mayor. No, we don't.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yep. Thank you, CEO. Councillor, now have to ask for a mover for the motion. Councillor Pearl and seconder. No, don't have to do it. Sorry. Getting used to it. All right, we'll move on to apologies. Councillor Catherine Copsey is extending her leave of absence from the 28th of November until further notice. Councillors, do we have any further apologies? Looks like everyone's here, so no. On to the minutes. All right, on to the minutes of the previous meetings. Councillors, the minutes from the Council meeting held on the 16th of November 2022 have been circulated. Are there any questions regarding these minutes? If not, may I have can I have a motion mover to confirm the minutes? All right, Councillor Martin, and seconded by Councillor Crawford. Thank you. On to declaration. What? Oh, I need a vote. Sorry, guys. Thanks, everybody. I will now put the motion to a vote. All in favour? That's carried unanimous. Declarations of conflict of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest in a matter being discussed at tonight's meeting? Do you want to say? Yep.
Through you, Mayor, I have a conflict in regards to a confidential item tonight regarding CEO matters, but I will exit the room for that discussion.
Thank you. There are no others? Thank you. We'll move on to presentation of awards. Councillors, do we have any presentations for tonight's meeting? Oh, Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make a presentation to a resident who has shown an unwavering dedication to our community. Teresa Warren, aka the 10th Councillor, is a friendly face at most council meetings. In fact, it has recently come to my attention that Ms Warren has been attending City of Port Phillip council meetings for 20 years. In that time, she has rarely missed a meeting. In a highly engaged community like Port Phillip, residents like Ms Warren help to hold us to account and ensure that their fellow community members are well informed and represented. A keen advocate of public art and a range of social issues, in 2019 she was nominated at the Victorian Government Awards for the Mole Hadfield and Francis Pennington Award for her work in fostering resilience and community cohesion in social housing. Through you, Mayor, it is my honour to present Ms Warren with a letter acknowledging her contribution to the City of Port Phillip. Thank you. You want to come down, Teresa?
Coming to council meetings, become a hobby of mine over the years.
Oh, we love having you. And I think that will probably feature in Yes, thank you for the Christmas card. I think we'll put that photo in diversity. Has to be a good item. All right. A condolence motion has been added to tonight's agenda. Local social justice and affordable housing activist Paul Madden died suddenly on the 20th of November at the age of 76. I refer to Councillor Martin to read a tribute to his long period of community service in the St Kilda area.
I'd like to thank Paul's family for A, being here in attendance, and B, preparing some briefing notes for me to read from. But before I go to the formal notes, I had a chat to the family earlier today, and they were telling me that Paul's passion was social and affordable housing, that for over 50 years he'd been trying to make sure that everyone was able to sleep safely and was able to be well looked after. He spent 20 years on the board of the St Kilda Housing Trust. I'm going to read a little bit more about that, but the way the family spoke, and I can't remember the exact word. In fact, out of order, Mayor, can I ask one of the family just to say a few words, please? Would you mind quoting to all of us exactly what you said to me about Paul's passion, please, and repeat it? It was just wonderful.
If you'd like to come up and use a mic, then the people online can hear it too. It's just here at the chair.
Just go over and sit there, please. It was just, you just spoke so beautifully.
Thank you.
Look, it was very simple, and it was simply the statement that I heard him articulate often enough, that in fact access to housing that's affordable and appropriate was the keystone to the whole policy of social justice. Thank you.
I couldn't think of a better epitaph. That was wonderful. What I'm going to read out won't sound anywhere near as impressive, though, but it'll give you a little bit of a picture as to what Paul did in that area. So, obviously, we as a council extend our sincere condolences to all the family, particularly for the three of you come, and particularly for the way you spoke so brilliantly. Paul's activism and interest in housing policy stemmed from the 1972 Commission of Inquiry into Poverty in Australia, which some of you might remember as the Henderson Poverty Inquiry. And that inquiry identified housing dislocation and insecurity as a major cause of poverty. In the face of the juggernaut of gentrification facing St Kilda in the inner city, Paul consistently argued for the social and economic benefits of diverse and affordable local housing. This led to Paul joining the board of the St Kilda Community Housing, or St Kilda Rooming House Issues Group as it was then back in 2000. He served in that capacity for nearly 22 years and retired from that role in late 2021. He remained as a director and treasurer of the organisation until he retired from the board on the 16th of November, only 4 days before he died. So there's almost his whole life devoted to that area. I think that's brilliant. Over his time on the board, Paul oversaw the organisation growing from 6 properties with some 150 units to the current 15 properties with 345 units, and he made the following significant contributions. He introduced a new governance structure to transition the organisation from a staff collective to a skills-based board of directors, and a conventional staffing structure led to a CEO, thus saving the organisation from potential state defunding. He used his acute skills in advocacy, networking and submission writing to position the organisation for ongoing growth and the establishment of a greater profile. He introduced a range of social support and community development programs for the organisation's residents, such as art, photography, gardening, writing, and the inclusion of social meals programs to give residents a greater sense of personal purpose and community connection. He championed investigation of a potential future role in establishing a community land trust to help older women obtain affordable shared equity home ownership. And he supported establishing the current partnership with the City of Port Phillip that will deliver the Wellington Street Common Ground project, which all of us can't wait to see, to provide supported housing for persons who sleep rough. Can I just say in concluding, I think the Wellington Common Ground project is just going to be a fantastic memorial. So every time we go past there, we'll think of Paul and the amazing work he did. So to the family, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for helping with these lovely words.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillors, I seek someone to move the motion that Council expresses its deep regret on the passing of Paul Madden, offers its sincere condolences to the family, places on record its appreciation of Paul's service to the City of Port Phillip in advancing social justice and the provision of community housing. Thank you, Councillor Martin. Seconded, Councillor Crawford. Is there any councillor who wants to speak to the motion in addition to this? I will now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to public question time. We'll hear from the public questions and submissions on report items. Thank you for coming. First up, are we ready? Yep. I call upon Christine Fetterplace speaking to item 7.1, petition Save Gasworks Park. Hi, Christine. Can you please state your name and suburb for the record, and then you have 3 minutes to speak.
Do I need to switch this on?
It should be on already.
Is it on?
Is it good? Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, right.
Is that better?
Can you hear me now?
That is better. Thank you.
Now, this petition was done to gauge the opinions of Gasworks Park users. We are asking councillors to protect the brick wall that separates the park from the old multi-net depot and therefore save the park from being dominated by a large new development and a small percentage of the community. If saving the wall is not possible, we are asking you to commit to replacing the wall on the park boundary. We do not want any entrance directly into the park. We do not know how high this new development will be, but it will be at least 2 stories high and take up the whole site. The officer's report comment compares the Victorian Youth Arts Precinct with Gasworks Theatre. This is not a valid comparison, as Gasworks Theatre is a small community theatre and it does not open into the park. Its entrance is in Graham Street and car parking provided outside the theatre. I have lived in the same house near the park for 43 years and experienced the transition of the park from an industrial area into a beautiful bushland park. I have enjoyed the open space and bushland with my children and now grandchildren over this time. The 548 people who have signed this petition want to protect the open space and bushland for future generations so the whole community can experience what we have enjoyed over our lifetime. Parks are precious and need to be protected from the built environment. In the officer's recommendations, we request that they be amended with an additional recommendation, number 8, stating that council will replace the wall if it is knocked down by the VSBA. Please protect our much-loved park for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Yes, you can ask her now if it can't stay for the item.
Christine, would you mind coming back to the microphone? I would mind asking you a very brief question. And I'm aware that because of my own background, there are often tensions between schools and communities over land use. Have you had the opportunity, and have the people who have signed your petition had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the school? And if not, is that something that you'd be willing to do if the school was available to it?
Oh, the school's never been interested in meeting with us.
Have you thought of formally approaching them?
We have tried to get a meeting with them, but never had any response.
I see the school...
And we've asked council officers to have a special meeting where we could all talk together, but that's never happened.
Well, I see there are representatives of the schools here tonight. You may be able to catch up with them after the end of this question time. Perhaps you might be able to arrange something. This is not to say that council will consider the motion, the petition later on, but just in the short term, this is perhaps something, given that we've got representatives of the schools here, perhaps you can organise something so that it may be that you and the residents in the school can together work out something that would make council's role and the department's role a little bit easier, because of this, as I said, there's obviously some tension there at the moment. It would be good if we could diffuse it.
Thank you. We will move on to the next speaker.
Right.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I call upon Stephen Cook, speaking to item 7.1, petition Save Gasworks Park.
Well, thank you. My name is Stephen Cook, Principal of Albert Park College. Thank you, Councillors, first up, for giving me this opportunity to address the Chamber. I'm here representing two local schools directly, Albert Park College and the Victorian College of the Arts Secondary School. But what I have to say involves creating something that will benefit, I believe, all our local primary and secondary schools, which will be gaining a great new theatre space in which to learn and perform. This project has been very public for a long time, first publicly announced by the state government back in October 2018. And Albert Park College and the Victorian College of the Arts Secondary College have publicised it widely ever since, in our newsletters, on our website, on our Facebook page, and at all major school events, including circulating details of the design in fundraising materials which have received an enthusiastic local response. Simply Google Victorian Youth Arts Precinct and all the details are there for anyone to see. I want to reassure everyone that the design will not reduce the parkland or adversely affect its heritage values. It will add to and improve both. It's worth considering that the site for the Youth Arts Hub is currently a polluting multi-net gas connector facility and transport depot, bounded on the park side by a 3-metre high orange brick wall topped with razor wire, constructed in the 1950s, hardly suitable for a school facility. Our design retains the fabulous original industrial heritage walls bordering Pickle Street and proposes to lower the 1950s inside park wall to its original heritage height, punctuated with an entrance to the Arts Hub that will open the space to the parklands. I'd point out that the primary entrance point for the proposed facility is in the Pickle Street, which is currently a truck entry point, but that will be the primary entrance point. By opening the park to the Arts Hub forecourt in this way, we'll be in fact adding some 200 square metres of open space to the park, a big gain for the community. And the design of the Arts Hub buildings and its landscaping will actively incorporate the industrial and Indigenous history of the site. To do this, we have engaged some of Australia's top heritage architects and heritage landscape architects. Albert Park College has a reputation for sensitive heritage design. In fact, our nearby campuses at Pickle Street and Bay Street have won architectural and educational awards for retaining local heritage values. Finally, I want to reassure you that the Arts Hub will not result in an increase in traffic, parking, and certainly not buses. We never have any intent of having a bus there. The facility is predominantly for the use of local children and their families. APC students will walk there, VCAS students will be taking the number 1 tram, and all other users will be encouraged to walk, cycle or take public transport, consistent with our passion for environmental awareness, just as they currently do to performances at the existing Gasworks Theatre. And if I can add one final point, this isn't just a facility for local schools, it will be for the enjoyment of the entire local community, a chance to see our wonderfully talented young people put on fantastic performances and maybe become the famous performers of the future. It's hard to think of a better way to complement a public park, and I hope the community will give the facility its full support.
Thank you, Stephen.
Steve, can I ask a question, please? I'm not sure I'm allowed to make a comment. I just wish I was still in education so I could access your facility when it's finished, because it's going to be a magnificent thing for students. However, we've heard one of the residents say that there's been some concerns. Will there be the opportunity for residents to be able to discuss with the school leaders how the park will be used and managed? Because rightly or wrongly, they seem to have the impression that they haven't been consulted. I'm not saying this is true, but that seems to be the impression they've got. So will they have the opportunity? And if they're going to, how will they be able to access this sort of opportunity to speak to your people?
I just want to say, first up, that I have not been approached directly to talk or speak to the local community, and I'm certainly happy to do so. The complication is it's a Victorian School Building Authority project of which the schools are part, so I know they have a communication division and they want to engage with the local community, and we'd certainly be happy to be part of that process. So I think there is an avenue, a pretty simple avenue for the two parties to come together and discuss, the detail, the architectural detail and merit of the design, the Indigenous landscaping component, and I guess to reassure people that our point of entry is through Pickle Street. That's where the foyer is, the box office. That's where people will be streaming into the complex, not through the park, which is really, we're just trying to open up a public amenity and enhance the park. That's the sort of intent. So, yeah, we'd certainly be happy to meet and discuss a way forward with the local community group.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford has a
Could I
question
ask
for you too.
one more question, if I may? Just you mentioned that you're opening up more open space. So does that mean a few of us have seen the architectural designs and it looks amazing. So does that mean that users of the park could also have access to the outdoor space? Will that be at all times, or is that during the day, or how I don't know if that was. I can't remember that detail.
At all times, in a way that's consistent with the Pickle Street campus that we developed, with it's the same landscape architect with the indigenous planning and bluestone pavers and so on. So yeah, that's open to the public at any time, and widely used as we do with all our campuses. So yeah.
I call upon David Brand, speaking to item 13.7, South Melbourne Town Hall lease negotiations. Come on down. All right, you have 3 minutes.
Hi. Yes, my name's David Brand. I live in St Kilda. I'm here just to say a few words about the South Melbourne Town Hall lease negotiation with ANAM. I was involved with it when I was on council between 2016 and 2020. And at the time that it was starting to be hammered out, we looked at it extensively, and we come from all the councillors come from a huge sort of background in the community, the community's attachment to the building, especially the local South Melbourne and Albert Park community that used to be the city of South Melbourne. This is it is a marriage made in heaven for this building. Of all of the town halls that became sort of semi-redundant in the Kennett era amalgamation, this will be the most successful outcome for a sort of what you could call maybe I don't know how to say it because it's such an important building, but it's sort of a leftover town hall, the most important 19th century building in the entire city. That it could be turned into a music academy, a national music school, is the best outcome that any town hall, I think, in Melbourne, which has been left over the way it was, is going to get. And it's just a fantastic opportunity that we've ended up with. So I really encourage the councillors to pursue this with an intense positivity. I was very, very careful on council at the time when we were negotiating the terms of the negotiation to emphasise the importance of community access and of heritage conservation. And I personally got them sort of moved up the priority orders of the terms of negotiation, and I'm really thrilled to see that they actually have been given particular prominence in this negotiated outcome. I'm actually quite thrilled at looking at the terms that have been devised now. I think that both council and the community have done incredibly well, actually better than I thought the outcome would be for the community and for council. And I really congratulate officers for managing to do that, and I congratulate ANAM for having the sort of the creative intent and commitment to actually work out ways that these difficult things could be negotiated and come out in a practical, coherent outline. So in particular, those two things, the heritage and the community access, you can see them embedded in the rent abatement agreement. That's $100,000 a year in rent abatement as an incentive every year. I mean, it's locked in as hard as it can be, and I think the outcome and the ideas and the proposals is really a fantastic outcome for this. And I look forward to hearing the public consultation on it, and I just commend it to everybody, and I hope everybody approaches it with a very positive frame of mind.
Thank you, David. I call upon Jeanette Brown, speaking to item 13.7, South Melbourne Town Hall lease negotiations. Please state your name and suburb, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Jeanette Brown and I live in South Melbourne. And I've lived in the area for nearly 40 years and a proud South Melbourne. It's absolutely heartbreaking to walk past this beautiful town hall and its current state of disrepair and emptiness, and the hope that something will come about with great positivity, as David just said. The ABC recently did a story about town and suburbs in Victoria having their town halls, because they are symbols of community pride and they are magnificent civil institutions, and we have the responsibility as custodians to maintain that heritage and utilise the building in a way that is fit for purpose in a modern age, where a restored town hall may not be occupied by council office workers and the like, but a restored town hall, ours, could breathe life into the arts, cultural and musical future of South Melbourne and Victoria. A lot of emphasis and ratepayers' money have been given to the cultural St Kilda. I don't take anything away from that, but myself plus other local members feel that South Melbourne may have been overlooked. We have the perfect platform to deliver a music and cultural hub that will contribute so much to the community and also enliven the precinct of Emerald Hill. Traders, restaurants, being Park Street, Clarendon and down to the market. It's a wonderful hub to regenerate. Over the past 12 months in New South Wales, 7 inner-city suburban town halls have been repaired and refurbished, and now thriving musical venues. They've been marked a great success, bringing back a breathing heart and oxygen into these suburbs. We, the community, should be thankful that a trustworthy body like ANAM is committed to raise funds and undertake work as curators of the proposed restoration and then ongoing tenants to ensure our iconic building is in good hands with good purpose. ANAM are committed to raising $40 million investment in the restoration of our town hall into our asset, plus an extra $10 million for suitable fit-out. Therefore, the restoration and their occupancy has no cost to the community. When I viewed the restoration plan and the backup of financial contribution, I couldn't believe how lucky we ratepayers are in receiving such a gift with a world-renowned institution in our iconic building. This historic South Melbourne Town Hall will stand as a giving asset. It's a win-win situation and should be applauded. ANAM will bring back the beating heart and oxygen the South Melbourne Town Hall and the community needs as a whole. The restoration of our South Melbourne Town Hall is paramount. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I call upon Nick Bailey, speaking to item 13.7, South Melbourne Town Hall lease negotiations. Hi, Nick. Please say your name and suburb. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Nick Bailey. I live in Northcote, General Manager of ANAM, previously resident in South Melbourne, now on sabbatical in Abbotsford. So thank you for giving me some time this evening. I think many people are here tonight because they care deeply about this building and the future of this building. And as someone has just said, it is heartbreaking to see the sad and diminished state to which the building has fallen. Our proposal, in conjunction with Council's works, is to lift the building back up again, to open it out to a vast community of visitors so that it may sing once again. David Brand talked about community access engagement. That's at the centre of the lease document that's going to be under consideration by the community. I think that it ensures very full access by members of the community to more of the building spaces than have ever been available before, with prescribed special community discounts on the higher rates. Opening up areas for common use, such as for performance venues, studios, cafe, etc., in addition to ensuring rooms are bookable by the community, will see more people in more of the building than ever before. We've previously spoken about our aspiration for this project as being to create new memories as well as preserving old ones. We think that both elements are vital. And ANAM is a meeting ground between an art form which is largely from yesterday, meeting ground between that and young artists of the future. We understand perfectly the responsibility as custodians of a great heritage, and we take that responsibility very seriously, as we have of the art form and the young people with whose care we're entrusted, as we would of the building itself. The quality and the character of South Melbourne, its architecture, its position, its long social engagement, Emerald Hill's importance to First Nations peoples, it's unique in Melbourne, it's unique in the country, I think, and our project seeks to celebrate that. At the same time, ANAM is about young people and so is inevitably drawn to looking to the future, to the creation of memories and experiences that cannot be imagined now and but last longer than anyone sitting here. So we're perfectly placed, I believe, to be custodians of this important building, but to in that role to continue to look forward. One of the things that I've enjoyed in the 6 months to 12 months that I've been looking at this is conversations with people who tell me their memories of experiences in the town hall, bush dances, weddings, whatever. I think it would be a sadness if in 50 years' time, when the new lease is being negotiated by myself and Mr. Savenko, that people rock up to the information kiosk and say, I remember when my dad took me to the town hall to pay a parking fine. I think tonight we've got the opportunity to commence creating a place in which memories that will be recalled in 50 years' time can start to be put down. And just imagine if at that desk in 50 years' time someone approached us and said, when I was 40, I saw the spent a weekend in the building at the Melbourne Writers' Festival. Salman Rushdie was there in South Melbourne addressing us. When I was 22, I went every night of the week to the International Comedy Festival. I laughed myself stupid every night in the South Melbourne Town Hall. When I was 17, one of the kids from the music school there, my own age, played the piano more notes faster, like they had 10 fingers on each hand. Or when I was 6, I went to a picnic in the front of the building. Above my head was a tightrope wire from the clock tower of the town hall across to the building on the other side, and above my head went a clown on a unicycle playing a trombone. I'll never forget that until the day I die. Just imagine that can be this building, and that can be the sorts of memories that this building can create for people who are not yet born. So I thank you for your time. I thank officers for their persistence and patience, and we look forward to getting started with what I think will be a very exciting project for this municipality.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak tonight that hasn't registered yet? No? All right. Oh, we have one. One hasn't registered. Lady in the front. Sorry. I think you've missed the registration at the desk. Sorry. We have another meeting tomorrow night if you are interested in come back. Okay. Then we're going to move on to councillor question time. Councillors, do we have any questions you would like to raise? That's not to an item tonight, just in general. Councillor Pearl.
Thanks very much. I've got 3 questions. I just can't find them exactly in my notes, so I'll just paraphrase. Apologies if it's not exactly the same. I'm just wondering if officers can provide us an update on security arrangements for our Captain Cook statue in light of what's happened in previous years around Australia Day.
Thank you. I've heard Alison Kenwood.
Through you, Mayor, we have additional arrangements in place for the statue, so we'll be putting in additional security, and our mobile CCTV will be also located in the area to protect the statue during that time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And residents in Port Melbourne and members of the U3R group have recently complained to me about the condition of the Petition Court located in the Evans Street Park, Port Melbourne. Can officers please provide an update on the condition of the field or the court and what we're doing to improve it?
Thank you. Alison Kenwood, please.
Through you, Mayor. About 2 months ago, there was some minor works undertaken to improve the surface of the court. The challenge is that there's a walkway that the community members are using that leads onto the court, so people are walking over the court to access the exit point from the park. So we will undertake to look at how we can put a solution in that so people aren't walking over the court. It is making it very hard to maintain the surface with people walking over it.
Thanks very much. And finally, I've received 2 complaints in the last week about Council's new policy of not allowing street parties or not allowing the closure of streets. Some of these parties have been going for 32 years in Albert Park. They're an important part of the fabric of our social community. Can officers provide the background to the policy decision around why we did that and what can be done in the future to ensure that these sort of events can go ahead?
Any officers want to answer that or take it on notice?
Through you, Mayor, we'll take that one on notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions tonight, councillors? No? All right, we'll move on then to the sealing schedule. Councillors, we have one item for sealing on tonight's agenda, being item 17.2, Deed of Settlement. As this item is considered to be in the confidential section with Section 3 of the Local Government Act 2020, it will be related to subsection F, personal information. This will be considered during the confidential section of tonight's agenda. We'll move on now to petitions and joint letter. Councillors, we have one petition but no joint letters tonight on the agenda. The first item is 7.1. It's a petition to save Gasworks Park. Do councillors have any questions of the officers in relation to this item? Councillor Pearl?
Just wondering if officers could get an overview of the level of consultation that council is involved in the overall project, firstly with the school and then secondly with the VSBA.
Through you, Mayor, it's Dana Pritchard. We have been talking to the VSBA for since we understood that the designs were being made public and the school was asking for contributions to the development. That was around, I think it's 12 to 6 months ago. We met with the VSBA and the architects to find out more about the design and have been working to understand further about the ownership of the wall and the heritage listing of the wall. We have found out that the wall footings are heritage listed, but the wall itself isn't. And we are working with the VSBA to find out more about which sections of the wall are actually owned by council and which are owned by which are part of the VSBA land, because the title boundary moves quite frequently in and out of the wall on the inside of the Gasworks Arts Park.
Any other questions? I'd like to clarify something real quick. In item 4 of the recommendation, it says a meeting between the VSBA and councillors was held. Can that be clarified if it was actually a meeting with the VSBA, or if it was with architects, and how many councillors were in attendance?
Through you, Mayor, it was actually a meeting with just the architects. All councillors were invited to attend. I understand that not all councillors did attend, but I'm unsure about who exactly was at that meeting.
Thank you. CEO?
Through you, Mayor, to clarify, that briefing was also held outside normal briefing time, so the availability of some councillors to attend that might have been difficult.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. If not, I'm looking for a mover for this item. Councillor Bond. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pearl. Councillor Bond, would you like to speak to it?
I believe you have an amendment to move, so I will refrain from speaking to this item until the very end.
Okay, you've thrown me for a loop there. Should have moved it myself. I'd like to move an amendment that adds number 8, which is request that the VSBA engage with council on the future of the wall and in the immediate vicinity prior to any decision or action regarding its removal. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bond, is that all right? He can't. Neither of you can second that. Councillor Martin to second. So I'll speak to that on that item. This wall is spoken about as which title it sits on, but I don't think that we as councillor have really been able to fully resolve what we want that boundary to look like and to further process this. And it's just giving us more time to hear what the future of the wall in that area will be in regards to our future works on the Gasworks side and considerations of the works by VSBA. So in a way, it's just coming back to us to have a decision at a later date. Anybody else want to speak to the amendment? No? All right, I'm going to take a vote on the amendment. All those in favour? All right, that's carried unanimous. So that becomes a substantive we'll go back to. Councillor Bond, you moved it, so you get to go first. You don't want to speak to it? Councillor Pearl? Oh, sorry, I missed your wording. Councillor Pearl?
Thank you very, very much. The best outcomes for these sorts of projects, particularly with the VSBA, is when they're done in consultation between the school, the VSBA and the City of Port Phillip. We look at the disastrous outcomes we had with the Port Melbourne Secondary College in terms of traffic management and interfaces with our park and can contrast that, councillors, to the fantastic result in the whole we got with the South Melbourne Primary School. All of that was because of good relations and early intervention by council to get good outcomes for our community and considerations which the VSBA and the school don't have because they're not as close to the whole community as we are. So I implored officers to please keep the communication guidelines open between the VSBA and council, that's true. But also the school has an obligation to also be a part of that and have open dialogue with the community and also council to get the best outcome for everybody. This is going to be a complex project from a community point of view. There's a number of people affected in terms of the use of the park and the overall amenity of the area that should be taken into consideration. And if we do the hard work now, the end outcome will be nothing short of sensational. So council is very happy to support this and thank the petitioners for putting forward what is a very reasonable concern and a very timely concern for us as councillors to remember what should happen on this project. And also just to close, to probably blame Councillor Bond because this was your idea in the first place, I think. The project probably wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have gotten an election commitment all those years ago. Thank you, councillors.
Interesting. Councillor Martin, please.
Support everything that the other councillors have said. I thank the petitioners for bringing their concerns, and I thank Mr Cook for being very clear about outlining what the project is going to entail and also being open to meeting with the petitioners and other interested residents to have discussions so that they can reach an understanding as to what's happening. What's not mentioned in the petition, but I think the petitioners and the school administration and the VSB probably also need to take on board is not just what the physical structure is going to look like, but in the ongoing usage of the park. And I think there are some undertones with the petitioners there concerned as to how the park will be used long after the buildings are completed. And far better that understandings are reached between residents and the school before things happen, rather than, as we found in some other schools, trying to negotiate things after the physical structures are complete and the students are there already. So I thank very much the petitioners for raising this. I thank Mr Cook for being so amenable to A, letting us know what a great facility is, and B, being open to talk to the residents. I look forward to fruitful discussions between them as well as all the other people who are involved in this. I look forward to seeing a wonderful new arts park open, and I look forward to some happy residents because the whole of the rest of Gasworks parks will be used in a manner that everyone's happy with, and fully happy to support this.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this item? No, I'll just say quickly, and then I'll go to you to close. I don't have a formed view on what we'll do here, and I think that's the point of it, that we don't have a formed view on the council side. And what's been proposed is very beautiful, and it could be ultimately what we get, but that is still a process we need to go through. Councillor Bond?
Yes, I agree with your comments there. Council has been developing a plan for Gasworks Arts Park. We've been working on a master plan design for this particular park, and that's been developed separately to any plans that have been occurring on this site. So what we seek to do is to ensure that anything we do with the master plan for Gasworks Arts Park actually works with what's proposed on this site. At this point in time, we don't have a position of council on how those two areas will interact and engage. And when this when we look at what happens here, we will ensure it is incorporated and works with what we're proposing to do with our master plan with the Gasworks Arts Park. And hopefully by the time we've looked at the two projects, we can come up with a formal position of council on what we believe should happen with the wall and the area immediately adjacent to the wall, which at present we're not sure how this is going to be treated. So I think it's important that we as a council decide what we would like to do, and then we work with the VSBA on how our requirements incorporate into their requirements for their new building on this particular site.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Now, I'm moving the agenda around a bit. Councillors, we will now move through the presentation of reports you have indicated you wish to speak to separately. So we're going to move up to 10.1 next. Then I'll just walk you through what we're going to do. Then we're going to go to 13.7, which is, 10.1 is Moubray Street road closure. 13.7, South Melbourne Town Hall lease negotiations. And then we'll go 13.8, which is the council plan and budget. The other items we're going to go to en bloc, just so that everyone knows what we're doing. I'll let everyone leave. Thank you for coming. All right, thank you. So we'll go to 10.1, please. This is Moubray Street road closure, formal discontinuation. Discontinuance. Now, are there any councils of the officer? Are there any questions of the officers in relation to the report? Councillor Pearl?
A couple of questions to start with. What's the consultation like been with the school itself? If you could give some background to this, please, between us.
Through you, Mayor, Christopher Cook, Council's Head of Open Space Projects, should be online and should be able to answer Councillor Pearl's question.
Thank you, Lachlan. Through you, Mayor. So the consultation has been open for a few weeks now. We've held 2 pop-up on-site consultations, which were both well attended. We've also had a direct consultation with the principal of the school regarding the park proposal. The consultation is still open until Sunday evening, and from that we will then get all the results of the consultation and produce an engagement report.
Thanks very much. Can I just, and maybe I'm bringing this up too early, so if I'm taken on notice once that consultation is complete, I received a email of the school newsletter from last week which details some of the concerns. So the main concern appears to be, and I quote, we see the overall area has been extended, but are disappointed to see the footprint we currently have has been reduced in terms of the fenced area. And the main concern is the pathway between the school and the park and also the seats that are adjacent to the park, which the school is indicating is inappropriate for a primary school. Have these items been brought up as part of the consultation thus far through the consultation process, and what discussions have we had about those 2 items in particular?
Through you, Mayor, yes, those have been brought up directly from the school, and they have also been brought up through emails through the consultation that we've received. So those will all form part of the engagement report that will produce at the end of the consultation period.
Thanks very much. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation. Would someone like to move this or something different? Councillor Pearl? This or something different? Yep. And then second, Bond? Councillor Pearl,
I'll reserve if that's okay, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Bond, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, just to clarify that all we're doing here tonight is discontinuing the road. We're not finalising any plans. We're not finalising any structure. We're not finalising any usage. This is a procedural motion to discontinue the road. The works and the proposed, design and functionality and access will all be subject to a different process. I know there's been a little bit of confusion, possibly caused by communication or possibly caused by information sent out to the community by the school, where people think we're making a decision on the design tonight. That's not the case. This is just a procedural motion to close the road. The consultation and works on the design and functionality and access will continue through a separate process.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Martin?
Great to get this process underway. I was involved in the initial discussions back in 2013 when we first set up the pop-up park. Great to see that it's progressing. I also lived through the conversion of Scott Street into a shared facility between Elwood Primary School and the public, and at that stage there was a lot of discussion with both the school and the public to make sure it was a facility that the school was able to use during school hours and the public was able to use out of hours. I'm sure we're going to go through a similar process and we'll end up with a facility that's going to be great for both the school and for local residents.
Thank you. Any more speakers? Councillor Pearl, would you like to close? All right. I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carry unanimous. Thank you. All right, we've moved it up, so the people here for South Melbourne Town Hall will move to that next. 13.7, the lease negotiations with ANAM, the outcome. Are there any questions of the officers in relation to this report? All right. Can I have a mover? So I see Pearl. Anybody else was a seconder? All right, Councillor Bond. Same crew tonight. Councillor Pearl, would you like to speak to it? Okay. Councillor Bond, would you like to speak to it?
Only to say I think this is a culmination of a long process that started many years ago when David was still on council. So glad he's finally decided to come along for not the conclusion, but the beginning of the conclusion. I guess I know it's taken many years of discussions and conversations and back and forths between councillors and council staff and ANAM and Nick. And I just want to thank Nick and his team and Anthony and his team at council for all their hard work they've put into this. Hopefully we have something we all agree on and we can get on with the job of restoring the South Melbourne Town Hall, which badly needs some investment into it. And I think as David Brand mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity here to create a really great space for the people of South Melbourne and ensure that we have probably, it is the most prominent building, probably the most prominent building south of the Yarra, I would almost say, at this point in time. Or south of the freeway anyway. There's probably one or two in South Bank that are a bit more prominent than this. But it is a great building. It's our most prominent building, and it would just be good to see it put to use and see all the works happen and the day-to-day functioning of this building as a not just a school for ANAM, as a training centre for ANAM, but a concert and entertainment venue for the people of Melbourne, who I'm sure who will love to come and attend this building for various events. I know we've got lots of town halls. There are lots of town halls across Melbourne that are probably underutilised, and this is one that could hopefully achieve I won't say maximum use, but certainly a reasonable amount of use that enables it to survive and live on as a functioning building in our city, when many other town halls are just sitting idle and rarely get used. So yeah, welcome this agreement and welcome. Hopefully we get a good response for the community to this, and we can come back and actually sign the lease.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
And again, reiterate, Councillor Blunt, thank you very much to the team from ANAM and to our council officers who've been working on this for a very, very long time. This is going to restore the jewel in the crown in City of Port Phillip. And I look forward, Anthony, to being present and voting on the whatever contract decisions come up in 50 years' time as we decide what to do at the end of this lease.
Councillor Crawford.
I remember when this was brought to us, I can't remember how many years ago, and I was very excited by the prospect, and I'm still very excited by the prospect that I'm so glad we've finally got to this point. I think, one, the fit is fantastic, but two, part of the vision of this city, as we know, art and culture is at the heart of many things, our why we love living here and our economic drivers. And so to have that South Melbourne precinct get to a point where it's back and, people coming and, contributing to and enjoying the arts in that and what we can make of that area, I'm really excited. I know there's some years ahead of some, big builds and that, but it's a very exciting moment. I'm also really excited that we have got in the proposed lease some really great outcomes for our community, like access and affordability of renting a space, and particularly excited by the South Melbourne Town Hall Cultural Fund. I know that we have a similar kind of program operating with the Palais, and I know how much that's contributing to our wider community, so I'm really excited by that particular fund. So, yes, thank you to all the hard work from officers and Nick and ANAM. I'm really excited to get to this point, and I really hope to hear the community. I'm hoping that community agrees with us, but I'm looking forward to their feedback.
Thank you. Any other speakers to the item? If not, I'll go. I love the vision. And I think the website you put together in that video is really powerful. And I think people will get really excited when they see it. I think it was even featured in The Age today. So let's get people out to see that and understand the agreement here. The community connection is very important to South Melbourne and to this entire council. I look forward to council meetings in that chamber, if I'm on council or just as a guest. And many performances. What an opportunity to have a nice venue operating in our area. But like any building project, especially one of this scale, we have a lot of work ahead of us. So I hope that this can go forward and get supported tonight. Thank you. Do you want to close, Councillor Pearl?
Thanks very much. Everybody's already mentioned this has been a long journey. I think most ratepayers and residents can live with the deal that we've been able to strike here. It's a long-term deal, and 3 decades from now will be judged harshly or fabulously well for the foresight, the deal we're making here. Some of these don't look so great after a few decades. I think what ratepayers and residents, current and future, can rest assured of is that we're confident with the amount of value that the community will be able to receive out of this deal, albeit the financials might not look as good as they do today 3 decades from now. Hopefully that will all be forgotten based on the cultural experience that could be available to our residents and Melbourne and Victoria more generally. So well done to the officers for doing this, and councillors. This is probably something you can be very, very proud of. It's been a long time coming. There's lots of mothers and fathers of this success story. Lots of mayors and deputy mayors have dealt with the negotiations of this over a 6 or 7 year period almost, and it's gone up and down. The reason it's important for this council to get this deal right, and the reason we've laboured over things that the points Nick brought up around the assist counter, etc., is it's a civic place of importance and it's owned by the people of the City of Port Phillip. So council wishes to entrust the building, and as custodians of the building, entrust the building to someone that will look after it and have capital invested in it. But councillors have always felt that it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we have a continuing connection and presence in the building as a civic centre. There's some important principles in the architecture of that building, one of which is the town clerk's office in the original South Melbourne Town Hall that had one of the few external exits to it. And the reason it has an external exit from the town clerk's office to the street is to ensure that the community was connected to that building and connected to council, so anyone could walk off the street and go and speak to the CEO. Maybe when we consider the appointment of our new CEO, maybe that should be a condition we should put on their contract to ensure that there's an open door to the street so anyone can walk in and have a chat. But the reason I bring it up is that it's an important point to say the fabric of South Melbourne and the civic fabric of South Melbourne is deeply connected to that building. And as Councillor Bond said, it is probably one of the, and former Councillor Brand or Deputy Mayor Brand, it is a beautiful piece of architecture, that's true, but it has a deep connection to the identity of South Melbourne, which at the moment is dormant, and it's an area that deeply needs a focal point of connection going forward. So I'm crapping on a bit, and I'll wind it up by saying well done to the officers for negotiating what is a good commercial deal for the City of Port Phillip. It'll be interesting to see what the feedback is, but the fact is, after sort of 6 or 7 years of negotiating a deal, and this deal in many respects, the fact we've only got a couple of people coming to speak to it at this point in the juncture, and very little objection anymore in terms of the feedback I've anecdotally been getting, means that Nick and your team have done a good job in communicating your intention to the building, and our officers in communicating what the deal actually is, where there seems to be a reasonable amount of acceptance. That may change in terms of the information we get, but councillors, well done for holding your nerve over the past 4 or 5 years and understanding the detail of this transaction and the ones that came before it. You've done a good job, and the officers have done a very good job keeping us informed over those years. So hopefully this all works out very well, and we have a wonderful more than 3-decade partnership that benefits the City of Port Phillip, the City of Melbourne and Victoria more generally.
Well said. Thank you. I will now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimous. Thank you. All right. The next item is 13.8, Council Plan and Budget 23-24, Direction and Long-Term Financial Outlook. We'll just wait to clear the gallery if you want to go. That's right. Thank you for coming. All right. Are there any questions of the officers in relation to this report? There being none, I seek a... Is there a councillor that wants to move this? Anybody? Councillor Bond. And a seconder? Councillor Crawford, thank you. Councillor Bond, would you like to speak to it? Nope. Councillor Crawford, would you like to speak to it?
Just want to thank the officers. We've got some big challenges ahead, but we've also weathered some big challenges in the last 2 years. So I think we're in a steady position to, for the next couple of years ahead. Obviously, noting that inflation and all of the other things that are particularly hitting hard at the moment. So yeah, just wanted to acknowledge that hard work and acknowledge that to the wider community that we're very lucky to be in such a strong financial position and be able to provide the level of services and infrastructure that I know our community really values.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to it? No. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martin.
Just echo Councillor Crawford's comments. Can I thank the council officers who've managed our finances so well? Peter Liu, where are you? To Peter and his team and his predecessors. Given the challenge that we faced, prior councillors to this council and our council officers have managed things extremely well. We do have a number of challenges, as Councillor Crawford has foreshadowed. The next 10 years will not be easy, but I'm sure the council officers who are assisting the council work through this will do an excellent job, and we will weather the various financial challenges, and in 10 years' time, hopefully, I'll be here saying similar things again, or not.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Anyone else? All right. Would you like to close, Councillor Bond? No. I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimous. Thank you. All right. Now, councillors, I seek a mover. Oh, sorry, we're going to move on, and we're going to do the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on block. So I'll seek a mover of the motion for the remaining items on block. Giving it to you, Councillor Clark. And second, Councillor Martin, you get it this time. Councillor Clark, would you like to... I guess we don't speak to anything on block, right? You can if you want.
Let me make a long speech just to, help continue the night. Following in the steps of some of my councillors. No, I don't need to speak.
Thank you. All right, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimous. All right, we're on to item 14, which is notice of motions. Councillors, we have no notice of motion tonight. Item 15, reports by council delegates. Councillors, do we have any reports from councillor delegates? Oh, Councillor Martin, go for it.
I'm not sure if any other council wants to comment. Can I just briefly mention that we had a meeting of all our various advisory committees and other voluntary bodies last week. Thank you to the council officers. It was wonderful to see so many of our community volunteers together, and they were both very pleased to be there and honoured to be recognised by the council. I hope that this will become an ongoing feature of our council as we recognise all of our volunteer committee members on an annual basis.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford?
I'm the councillor rep on the Linden Art Gallery board, and the very exciting Linden Postcard Show is about to open for its 32nd year. So that starts on Friday, and we welcome, I'm going to forget Vincent's name, a new director to the Linden. So it would be great. It's running through till the end of February, so there's plenty of time over the Christmas holidays to go and see this very iconic St Kilda or City of Port Phillip event. And it's always amazing what people are capable of, and we have actually been encouraged as board members to put in our own piece. It's a little late for me to start working on that. Maybe next year.
Yeah, good. All right, any more councillor delegate reports tonight? No. Item 16, urgent business. Councillors, do we have any items of urgent business? There being none, we are going to go on to item 17, confidential matters. Councillors, we have 3 confidential reports listed on the agenda, being 17.1, appointment of independent members to the South Melbourne Market Committee. 17.2, document for sealing, deed of settlement. 17.3, CEO matters. I now call on a councillor to move that the meeting be closed to members of the public to consider confidential items. Councillor Sirkoff, thank you for moving that. Councillor Martin, thanks for seconding. All right, and I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Councillors, we will now conclude the public part of this meeting as there are no further open items to be discussed. Thank you for joining us tonight.